Can you still hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it. I can hear
Okay,
it.
hold on. How do I close it? Oh,
I think yeah,
whoa.
maybe it's the it playing back on a monitor or something
Is
for
it?
you right now.
Yeah. There we go. All right. That was
The
weird.
the Ludo and Dean classic, the
There we.
special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually the second screw up for this stream. Hello, everyone. Ludo here with Dean. We are 30 minutes early because we just realized that it says 1:30 p.m. Pacific on YouTube, but when we are really, really only supposed to be here at 2, but we thought, hey, what the heck? Let's just do it. Let me adjust everything here. So we haven't had really the chance to prepare. So it's going to be live and raw, super raw.
Yeah. Yeah.
Geez, I love your background, man.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot
Station.
different than the last couple open houses because I have the lights and everything. Kind of like you, you have all the
Yeah.
green behind you, but I'm making some adjustments. I moved my whole entire setup from my downstairs basement area upstairs, and this was our guest bedroom. And we have so many odd trinkets throughout this room. It's now turned into I don't know. I'm trying to put my own spin on it, but if you can't tell, my wife really likes kind of like odd things. Like
I like it. I like
yeah,
it. It's
there's a
nice.
there's a piece of art right back there,
Yeah.
where
Like
it's like four.
horses, right?
Well, it's four
Horsemen?
cowboys, but they're cats. Like
Oh,
it's just weird things like that all around in this room. So
cool. All right. So, hey, thank you for being here. If you have any questions on the chat, please go for it. This is going to be probably the longest campfire we're going to do because we're 30 minutes early. So we'll actually pretend that we're just starting in about 20 minutes so that people who actually join at 2 p.m. don't feel like they've missed anything. But we're streaming live, Dean and I. We are on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and on YouTube. So if you're hearing us, if you're seeing us right now, you can actually ask your questions. No special guest today, at least not that I'm aware of. Maybe there is.
am I not the special guest? Come
You
on
are
now.
the special guest always. I guess only one special guest today. Um, and so it's going to be all about your questions, pretty much. Dean and I, we're gonna have a chat. But really much, it's very much about your question. So let me actually type it here. If you're ask in the chat here, right? If you're seeing this, go for it. I think it says that it's only pushing it to Facebook and YouTube, maybe not LinkedIn. We'll see. So what's up, man?
Man, nothing much, honestly. Just closing out this year. I mean, we talked about this a couple months ago, but just crossed that 1 year mark with Nucamp and
Right.
everybody here, and that was on Halloween. And so, just trying to finish out the year strong and moving into 2025, new year, new me type of deal. And I think a lot of people are going to be doing that too. You know, that's kind of the theme. But what about you? What have you been up to?
Oh man. What can I say? Trying to think about, what do people need out there? And I have to say, it's kind of challenging because it's always evolving. AI, we're gonna have to talk about AI, right? But there's a ton of back and forth in the industry about what AI is gonna do to the profession, to coding in general, what it's not gonna do. How much is it going to replace developers? How much is it not going to replace developers? There's a ton of coding bootcamps that are making a pivot and are like, you know what, we're not going to teach coding anymore. We're going to teach AI, right? And so you're seeing a lot of bootcamp with AI or for AI popping up. And I'm not sure that's the right move. I'm not sure actually people want that. Because in my mind, you can't learn AI without being a developer first, right?
Mm,
You have
yeah.
to be a developer first to learn AI and how to use AI as part of your daily job, as part of your dev job. And then if you're already a developer, are you going to really spend $5,000 to go back to a coding bootcamp to learn AI? Or are you just going to learn it the way you learn everything else? You go on the website to pick the documentation, you install the package, you trial and error, and that's how you learn. You're going to watch a few YouTube videos, but you're not at that stage, and that actually you don't really have the need, I think,
Yeah.
to have a really formal structure to, at the end of the day, use another API. Because let's call it, that's what it is. You're just
Right.
putting another API, right? And as a developer, you would have done that 100 times already. Um, so I don't know. I'm trying. I'm still, in that hard place where what do really people need? And I still believe what they need is to learn how to code. At the end of the day,
Yeah, yeah, that foundation. I feel like a lot of people, especially nowadays, and since that hashtag learn to code movement,
yeah,
what in 2020, which was like the best and worst thing that's ever happened to the tech industry, in my opinion. That really validated to a lot of people that maybe cutting quarters is okay, and it's just not.
yeah,
It never has been, and slipping up on those foundations and fundamental skills. And I think the way that you said it was perfect in the sense of it's a really great tool, right? And if you're already a developer and you're worried about that, then you're going to dig into it having already become a master at Google at that
yeah.
point and really finding those answers. It's going to be a lot better. I'm kind of curious on your stance with this, Ludo, because you've been in tech for how many years now?
Oh, should I really say? Can I lie a little bit?
You can lie a little bit. That's
Just a
fine.
little bit. Okay, I'm gonna say, oh boy, 20 years.
Okay, 20 years.
It's a bad lie. It's already too much, I feel. I
No,
should have
no,
said
that's perfect.
12.
No, that's perfect because even in that 20-year time frame, or you could stick to 12 if you wanted to, there's been so many different movements within
Yeah,
coding and tech already that when you see with the history of how tech has evolved, really 20, 30 years, and AI coming into the equation, how does that like stack against some of the other things that you've seen where you go, oh, this language or this particular thing is going to be the next hot thing, and then it turns out to be maybe a phase, or it does get implemented in some way, but it's not as big, or maybe it's smaller. Like, how does it
yeah.
stack up for you?
Let me answer that, but I want to say hi to Krista, who just showed up. Hey, Krista. Krista
What's
has
up,
been
Krista?
working and learning and working with Nucamp for a while now. It's great to see you here. You're not late, actually. We're early. We're supposed to start at 2 p.m., but YouTube actually decided to advertise at 1:30, so we're here. And anyone else, I see it. Actually, the number of people joining has grown up. So ask your questions. We're live with Dean. Ask your question in the chat. This is really what this stream is about, to pretty much answer your questions and talk about AI. So, how do I compare the AI wave with any other previous waves in the past? It's interesting that you're comparing. In that question, you're already making a comparison and kind of saying, hey, maybe it is the same type of evolution, right? Than we had in the past. Uh, I think it's a major evolution. I don't think it's a revolution. I would compare it to all of a sudden you actually program not for the a local server, but you're programming for the internet
Hmm,
and all the web services. And I think at the end of the day, it's just another productivity enhancement.
gotcha.
It's a significant one. Where in the past, when you were thinking about productivity enhancement for the developer, you could think maybe 10%, maybe 15%, 20% productivity enhancement. Now you can think that you could actually get to 50%, 60% productivity enhancement, which enables more things. And I'm not 100% sure what that looks like in terms of enabling more things. Actually, I can share some of that, actually. Um, but I think that's what it is at the end of the day. I don't think it's going to replace developers. I think it's going to make developers that much more efficient, that you're going to see a lot more entrepreneur and solo entrepreneur, because also that all of a sudden that can actually be a one-man team of what used to be maybe three developers in the past.
Right.
Um,
So I
what,
guess
what?
does like the the scale kind of change a little bit, or maybe the difference between what makes a good developer and maybe like a great developer? Does that kind of widen the gap between the two? Or maybe even someone who goes into becoming a
Yeah.
developer with more of an entrepreneurial mind, or uh, maybe a better critical thinking mindset, might actually be heavily more rewarded moving into this sphere too. Like,
Yeah. I think it doesn't make an okay developer a great developer.
mhm,
And maybe the opposite, because if you're a junior developer, if you're relying too much on AI, your growth is going to be challenged. You're going to be challenged learning new things. Um, and actually, I would say almost thankfully, AI is going to make mistakes and it's going to produce code that doesn't work. That's going to force you to go back to those good habits of troubleshooting, finding the bug, really understanding what's going on.
mhm.
I think the day AI is so good that the ratio of bugs is so small, junior developers are going to have a hard time becoming great developers because they're going to rely way too much on AI. Now the question is AI at the end of the day also another abstraction layer on programming? That's what the CEO of NVIDIA thinks. And I think it's going to be that in maybe 10 years from now, but not now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, where they get this kind of scary thought is, and they don't really know how to articulate it, is the fact that tech has always moved faster than legislation has.
Yeah.
And that can be a scary thought a lot of the times, because when you start hearing about these breaches, new things that are being made, or what have you, that really starts to set some alarm bells, and fear mongering then leads to clicks. And that's a whole nother
Yeah.
discussion on retention rates with that. But it's just funny to see how AI has impacted not just the tech industry, right? But
Yeah.
also the mindset of going into what uses tech, which is almost everything. It's really hard to think of what industry or what particular thing doesn't revolve around tech in some type of way now.
That reminds me of what you shared with us earlier in the week, how you had to convince someone that you are not AI. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, I just made a call to someone earlier this week that was showing some interest with Nucamp, and I sent them over a text message saying like, "Hey, this is Dean. Let me know if I can help you out with anything." And on two separate occasions, they asked me, "Are you an AI?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not an AI." And, well, that's kind of what an AI would say if it was impersonating a human. I'm like, "No, I'm not. I just tried calling you." Oh, well, AI can do voices and stuff. I'm like, I'm actually having a Turing test right now
Yeah.
with this person, and having to convince this person that I'm not an AI. And I just that was the first. That was a first for me. And then it happened twice in one day. I was like, what is happening right now? I had to step away from my computer and just like do some reflecting, grab a cup of
So,
coffee.
how do you convince a regular person that's interacting with a system that the system is not AI? If you're a human behind the wheel, how do you?
Yeah.
What is the maybe the technique to demonstrate that you are not AI?
Well, I'm not sure if I did with one of those people. I don't know if I was ever going to convince them, but um, it's tough to say. I think right now it's pretty easy to identify if you're talking to a bot or not, because one, it's going to be really quick. It's going to have also perfect grammar as well,
Yeah,
and
true.
that's a huge thing. Just talking like I've always kind of prided myself off of just being real with people and really speaking what's on my mind. And so I'm pretty forward in what I want to say a lot of the times, for better or worse. And I think that that's kind of the approach I have to take to convince people I'm not an AI. I'm a real person. I'm going to tell you how it is. And sometimes AI will beat around the bush for what they're pulling for their sources. And it's just, yeah. So I would say
And
that.
it's and it's totally understandable why people will have doubts because in our business, Nucamp, right? If you go to the website, you're going to actually interact first with an AI, using the chat. You may not realize that, but Stephanie is going to respond to you, and that's going to be AI. And then you're going to be talking to someone on email or you on the phone or on text, and you may wonder, okay, is that still the AI engine or is it not? It makes me think about Blade Runner. and how they actually had to have a test to see if you were a replicant. You know
Yeah.
that? You remember that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I love the Blade Runner series, and I love anything that has to do with AI. Kind of when it predated, when it was really a thing too.
Yeah.
That's the most compelling part about those movies, and television, like anime, has done a great job of that as well, and predicting a lot of things. But yeah, no, it's definitely a compelling thought to say the least. Yeah.
I'm wondering if part of the legislation and the boundaries or the boundaries we want to create around AI is going to be AI has to absolutely disclose if they are AI in any some circumstances or something like that.
Probably,
Yeah.
I would safely say that that will probably happen, and we're going to move into this new wave of generational perspectives on.
Yeah.
You know how you talk to some people, they're like, "I just want to talk on the phone with a real
Yeah.
human being, right? I don't want to chat. I don't want to email." We're probably going to see that with AI one day
That's right.
too. But it's funny though because I can't tell you. I don't think I've ever shared this with you. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with someone who says, "Yeah, I think I spoke to one of your advisors already. I think what was her name? Zandra? No, Alea? That wasn't it. Stephanie? Oh yeah, I talked to Stephanie. She was very helpful. I'm like, I bet she was. Yeah, we
Yeah.
built her essentially, and they
Yeah.
were just like, whoa, this is crazy. I'm like, yeah,
Oh yeah, and you are you sharing the fact that she's AI, and then they're like, oh my
yeah,
god, I didn't
yeah,
realize.
and
Yeah.
then it blows their mind because they don't realize that they're talking to an AI because we do have Stephanie um, and her picture and everything there too, and it's convincing and yeah, so
All right. So we have a few points from Krista in question. Krista shares us her update. Started the internet craze on the provider side, perfect, and not yeah, nice. My kids were young. AI craze. Being doing Microsoft AI certification. Yeah, great. Um, we have some. Great to see you. And so we have a question here. And so, by the way, we are early on the stream. We're supposed to start at 2 p.m. Pacific, but then YouTube did a number on us and said that we were supposed to start at 1:30. So we're like, hey, let's do that. We don't want YouTube to be upset with us, so we're
yeah,
gonna
no,
start.
definitely don't want to mess with
Yeah.
Google.
So exactly right. So if YouTube says it, we'll do it. We're gonna oblige. So yeah. Thank you for the questions. What do you think of a healthy role for AI with new programmers will be? Agree on the dependence and it's problematic, but iterate it. So so Copilot in VS Code seems to be the right middle ground for me because most likely you're not going to ask Copilot to produce, a full page of code that does everything and anything that you want. Unless instead you're going to use Copilot in VS Code as really a helper, almost like an IntelliSense plus plus that's going to really help you, not make silly syntax errors. Like no longer are we going to have a semicolon missing, pretty much, right? That should never happen anymore, and that has been a big headache for some students at first, right? They're missing a semicolon, they're not seeing it, and it's breaking the code. So I think if you are a junior developer, don't go straight to ChatGPT, even less with O1 preview or fully released, asking them to produce like 3 pages of code that's supposed to do one thing. Because you're not going to look at that code. Let's be honest, right? You're going to take the code, and now that you can actually download the files, you're going to put that in your project, do a few tests and call it goods. You're not going to learn anything from it. And you're not going to understand what it does, and you're not going to want to spend time. That is okay if you're a senior guy, though. Like I've done that. I'm like, I know I need a routine. I can't remember which one, but I'm like, I think it was around the authentication. Like I had to add another authentication thing, and I'm like, I'm not going to want to deal with the whole thing. I need the back end. I need the front end. I need the lost my password. Done it a million times. Don't want to do it another time. chat, do it for me, right? Chat GPT, do it for me. Um, and it worked. And so that was cool. But as a beginner, don't do it because you're going to learn nothing. And then if it's broken, first you may not see it broken, you may not understand it's broken, and then you're not going to know how to fix it.
Yeah, and if
Um,
I could piggyback off of that real fast, you know how earlier we were talking about how can you tell if something is an AI? And
yeah,
I said grammar, right? Same thing with code. It's like grammar wise with code, like a syntax error or anything like that, it's going to fix it pretty quickly. But if you presented just garbage code, same thing if you were to give AI a paragraph and said, hey, fix this with perfect grammar, but that paragraph didn't make any sense.
yeah,
It's not going to really know what to give you back aside from, okay, well, I can turn this at least into proper grammar. It's still not going to run correctly or
that's
make
right.
sense. Right. So, yeah, I use AI a lot of the times. And I said this on many open houses where I'll say, explain this to me like I'm 12 or 13 years old, and it'll just break it down immensely. I'm like, oh, I finally get these four pillars of OOP a lot better when
Yeah.
it's explaining it to me like I'm in elementary school. And then you can build upon that. So yeah, I think that's a great question though.
And I will say as well, AI by default, in a sense, makes code very complicated. Like I've found myself needing to steer the code being produced to a much simpler implementation. Um, and that's actually something that you may not actually catch as a junior developer, right? But it tends to produce on a range of complexity and usefulness of having something complex is going to go high. It's going to be very complex for no real reason. And I don't know why, but yeah, that will be that. And I like how you're saying, some um, some Copilot is equal the new Clippy. Yeah, actually, I think this the CEO of Salesforce that actually said that. But yeah, it may be.
Imagine they rebranded Clippy. That's what they
Oh
should
my
have
God,
done.
that's the death of it.
That would have been. I would have loved that. I would have loved it.
Yeah. One other thing to continue on this train of thought that AI could be useful for developers or junior developers. It's writing tests, and I don't know if you've seen. I think it was like the last 10 days. Google had their quarterly report, quarterly business report, um, and they said that 20%, I think, or maybe 30% of the code base was written by AI.
Yeah, I saw something like that. I think Fireship made a video about it as
Yeah,
well.
that's right.
He makes great content for
I
anyone.
will bet that code produced by AI is testing code. I will bet. I don't know how much. They didn't go into those details, but I will. That's a great application of actually having AI produce code is writing unit test and integration test, and something that they probably AI probably does really well.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah.
another area.
Let's see. We got some more questions coming
Yeah,
through
yeah. Let's go.
here. Let's
You want
see.
to take that one
Yeah, yeah. Hi, is
from
the
Hey Ahab Mo 36?
Yeah, hi. Is the web development and mobile update? I think they're saying is the curriculum updated, and after graduation, will I still have access to the new updates? For how long? And thank you. Yeah, I'm under the full. It is updated. We have to stay up to date in this type of industry. If we don't, then we bleed out as a company very quickly. If we're not implementing new things. But you do have access to the updated material as long as you graduate from it and you stick within the code of conduct throughout that time as well. You're not finding reasons to get yourself booted, which it's very hard to do. But yeah, you'll have a lifetime access for that as well. And if you are international and overseas, which is our Flex program, if you finish it within the set period of time that we have for our North American region students, then you'll actually have a lifetime access for it as well there too. So
That's right.
there's a lot of great incentive to be able to come back and revisit some things once you graduate from it.
And I'm actually personally working with the person in charge of curriculum every week. And every week we actually go through the list of, okay, what needs to be updated? What have we done in the past week? We're reading the comments from students and instructor every week. and seeing, what needs to happen. So it's a weekly process right now. Just
That's
so
actually interesting because I was going to ask you, like, how do you identify that, right? Like,
yeah,
how do you hold your own curriculum accountable? And it seems like it's the instructors and the
students and
students. Yeah,
instructors, and sometimes it's major updates, sometimes it's not. Um, but yeah, it's weekly. Weekly, we're looking at what needs to be updated.
that's cool. Yeah, I didn't even know that it was that often. That's really quick turnaround time.
All
Cool.
right.
Let's
Hey,
do what?
you wanna go?
Yeah, I'll read all of them. Let's do it.
There
What
you
are the top
go.
things that you would recommend for a beginner to have completed / prepared and have listed on their resume in order to search for a junior dev job fresh out of a boot camp? Well, you have to have projects, firstly. I mean, like, that's the biggest thing. And you have to optimize your resume too. Listen, like, the job market is like every other market out there. It's a game. You have to play into it. You have to know how to optimize it correctly for AI to read and hit certain keywords, and optimize your resume specifically for certain roles as well. Because then that's how people, when they hit the easy apply button, they just get forwarded to the next phase, like, automatically. They're not properly optimizing things. And so, anyway, to get back to your original question on what should be on your resume, I would say 3 to 4 really decent, good projects. One of those
Yeah.
should be a passion project. So that way, when you do get confronted with a question in a particular project of what have been some good and bad things, what have been some struggles, how have you overcome those? When you get into that personal project, they're going to be able to tell with that passion right away how you're overcoming that in real time. And so I wouldn't just have something super formulaic, have something organically thrown in there too.
Yeah,
Um, but
definitely.
anything that also works with data and updates it in real time, I think is going to be, I think that's always a good idea.
Hey, Teddy Cassie on LinkedIn, we're seeing your messages. We're seeing it the third time as well. No need to post it a fourth time. We're gonna get to it. No worries. I want to say a few things on the topic of finding a job after the coding bootcamp, because you're talking about the resume, and obviously you want to optimize your resume the best possible, and do all the tasks to be able to optimize it. You mentioned the projects, all great. You also talked about the quick apply on LinkedIn or everywhere
Yeah.
else,
Yeah.
and I think I want to spend some time on that. Pretty much saying don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I mean, do it for kicks, but that's not how you're gonna find a job in current climate and environment. You're gonna find a job because you're gonna put yourself out there, preferably in person, attending meetups, building a local network, um, and actually this is where less is more. You're going to want to build relationships with group leaders locally. You're going to want to scout the local companies that are employing personnel or are IT shops themselves. You're going to want to reach on LinkedIn, not run ads. I've received an ad-based message from someone looking for a job. I'm like, really? Don't do that. Don't spend money on ads to actually apply for jobs or promote yourself. Just write the actual
I
message.
haven't heard that one yet. That's
That's
clever.
huge.
That's
That's crazy. It's
kind of
like,
clever, but I
yeah,
don't think that
no, it
works.
doesn't work. It doesn't work. So that's the effort that really you want to go through. Local, small, personalized relationships and interactions. And yes, of course, your resume has to be top notch as well. Uh, but if you're stopping there and then you're doing the click apply, that's not going to work out. Just it won't.
Yeah, I've said this a couple times in these past couple months for open houses. I went to that tech meetup in July or June. I don't know if you remember me going to that, but it
Yes,
was
yes, yeah.
local to Birmingham, and I've never really been to those, but I like shaking hands. I like meeting
Mhm.
people and talking about what they do. And while doing that, it was combining AI and tech into film and artistry. And it was a great group of people to be around for that. I mean, right up my alley, too. Um, so through that, I was kind of curious to know how many relationships I could build up and connections in that
Yeah.
time. Not only did I have plenty of that to go around, but I didn't tell you this, Ludo. I had 3 job offers when I went there.
And you're
And they
still
didn't.
here.
Yeah, yeah, and I stay here. I think enough time has passed, but like I was just so blown away. I was like, y'all don't
Yeah,
even see my resume. You
exactly.
just want to hear like they just hear the communication and that and the drive there and just meeting with people goes a long way. It's I mean, we're so detached as a society since COVID really too that going out and meeting people that's a breath of fresh air to a lot of people. So please do that. Yeah.
Because people are going to evaluate your fit not just based on your technical abilities. They're going to evaluate your fit from a culture standpoint, from a relationship standpoint. Uh, are you going to fit in the company? Period. Not just can you do the job. And yeah, and I'm not surprised. I'm really blessed and happy to hear that you decided to stay with us.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it was a
that day is
no-brainer for
going to
me,
come. I
but
know that day will come when you're going to tell me, "Hey, I'm out."
no, no.
But yeah,
But no,
not
and
today.
also a student told me in a call, or a prospect who then became a student, told me in a follow-up call, and it's like it was a quote from Steve Jobs. Maybe they could be wrong. I don't know, but I'm going to take this where they said Steve Jobs would hire more passionate focused people rather
Mhm.
than more technically focused people because people who are passionate about what they're doing, the technical skills are going to follow shortly after
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting. And I think a lot of people miss that because they're so caught up on what kind of job and money and all types of things. And it's like, I get it, but yeah.
So it's 2 p.m. and we've been discussing for the last 30 minutes because YouTube kind of told us, hey, it's actually starting at 1:30 when we actually thought it was going to start at 2 p.m. Pacific, but YouTube had other plans for us. So let's just pretend that we're just starting over and welcoming all the listeners uh, to the stream. We're still here for another hour. That's going to be the longest stream. We've been here for already 30 minutes. Great questions so far.
Yeah.
But thank you for joining. If you have questions for Dean or myself, we're here to answer them live. This is a live stream, all you can eat type of buffet. So ask any question. We have just one special guest, and that's Dean. No other guests. So there's no interview of such. We just want to have a conversation with you all listening to this stream. And if you're hearing us right now, we're on YouTube, streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. So go on the chat, ask your question, and Dean or I will answer it. We have Krista here. Always a pleasure to see you, Krista. Uh, Dean is jumping ship. Don't give him.
No,
Yeah.
no, no, no. I'm not going anywhere.
All right. So let's take Teddy's question. You wanna take it?
Sure, sure.
I'm a
Yeah.
third year computer science student. Congrats, Teddy. Looking into acquiring a certification from a bootcamp. Could you offer guidance on the advantages of this for a student of computer science like me, considering that colleges often prioritize JavaScript?
So yeah, I think this is just kind of bouncing off of what I mentioned earlier with the resume question too. The certificates are great. Don't get me wrong; they're great for something like your LinkedIn or your resume. I would say prioritizing a good project based in JavaScript though is going to be great. JavaScript's huge, by the way. It's in like 70 or closer to 80% or something like that for all websites and applications. It's going to be in there in some way, shape, or form, and so many libraries with that too. So getting good at vanilla JavaScript and the baseline, and then building upon that with different projects could be really good for you. Um, I would just say that the certificate is going to serve its purpose for one thing, but at the end of the day, pairing that with your degree and projects is just, man, I mean, you're already going to be ahead of the curve in so many different ways. Anything to add to that, Ludo? I mean, that's
Yeah.
pretty bare
So,
bones for me, but
well, first you are almost finished with your computer science degree, and that's awesome. That really gives you the right background understanding of computer science in general. Um, and that also will help you as well accelerate your career down the line and things like that. um, what is known in the industry with computer science students is they have a great deal of knowledge of the fundamentals. They're going to learn Java, they're going to learn object oriented programming, they're going to learn database, but they don't know how to build a website. on app, and they probably don't know about the latest React frameworks, which is what probably your first job is going to be in that vein, right? You're going to be working on a website or a backend and things or the cloud. And so I think it's helpful to learn that and be kind of, market ready, I will say. Now, I don't know that it's necessarily joining a coding bootcamp. Like I would expect now, since you're a computer science student and soon graduate, that you know how to learn on your own. And so I would actually encourage you to start with that. Like I would encourage anyone who's thinking about joining a coding bootcamp to start. See if you can learn on your own first. That's going to be the most flexible, cost-effective way of learning to learning to stand a website. Go on Udemy, go on Coursera, find a course, $5, that's going to teach you the latest about React, let's say. Try that first.
Yeah,
And
or
then if it,
at least,
yeah,
oh, go ahead.
no, go for it.
I was going to say, or at least to just find your groove in a particular
Yeah,
language, right?
yeah,
I
you
mean,
actually, yeah.
yeah, so just find something that you really gravitate towards. And nowadays, with most of the popular languages out there, there's so many subsidiaries of like that language itself that you're going to be able to scale something. If it's Python, you're going to be able to build cool things in Python, and that's going to elevate your background with your degree as well.
Yeah.
JavaScript. I mean, when I first took a boot camp many moons ago, I went into it wanting to become a web developer, specifically more into the front end side of things. But then I really fell in love with SQL, and I really
Oh
started
yeah. The
liking,
back end.
yeah, the back end and getting into a database. Actually, I would say that SQL was one of the few things that I really liked about back end. Everything else I didn't really like. But SQL is fun to me. I really, really liked it. So all of that said, like try your hand maybe in a like a self-taught route just to see what you click with the most on a fundamental
Mhm.
scale. And then that's when you can kind of explore more options of a controlled, structured environment. Let's say like if you really like JavaScript, you're really clicking with that in certain frameworks, and the full stack bootcamp is going to be the one for you.
Yeah.
Or maybe let's say you really start liking Python, then our backend bootcamp is going to be really great. That's I'm a little biased towards that one with how much is covered in it, but yeah. So I'm kind of just reflecting what Ludo is saying on try your hand in a couple things, but really define that groove too, and then build
Yeah.
something. Just get your hands dirty.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing. You're starting, getting your hands dirty in building a website or using a framework, and you may realize, like 95% of the people who try that path, that you're not able to finish anything, and you have bought, 10 courses, $5 each, and none of them are completed beyond 30% mark. If you're in that situation, and you're still wanting to do it, then I'll plug Nucamp, because you're then in a situation where you don't want to attend a full-time bootcamp, um, and you're going to want something that is affordable. And so I think that's where you will definitely consider Nucamp. Enroll, go part-time, uh, not too expensive, and then you have a timeline. You have a start date and an end date. You have graduation. You have a project, and you can also stick that on your resume. Um, you're not really going to put the 5 or the 10 Udemy courses that you didn't complete on your resume, but you
Yeah.
will put the Nucamp certificate there.
Oh, for sure. And now's a great time to kind of explore that too, being really towards the beginning of December. Try your hand at that
Yeah,
moving into January because we have that Cyber Monday coupon
that's
still
right.
valid
Oh,
for the
that's
beginning of
right.
next year. You like that transition? That
Very
was good,
nice.
huh? Yeah.
Very nice. What
But
is the
serious,
coupon code?
it's 25 PCT off, all
Yes,
caps.
I think yeah. Let me actually
And
place it in a 25 PCT off.
all caps, yeah. And then that will take 25% off the first installment, the registration, which is a nice lunch or dinner on us.
Yeah,
So you can do that for
yeah,
yourself
exactly.
or take someone out. Yeah, there you go.
Good way to think about it.
Um, and kick off the new year right. I mean, new year, new you mentality. I think a lot of people are going to go into it with that, right? So
Yeah, and I mean, we're seeing a lot of people starting in January or February. It is definitely part of the New Year resolution that people are aspiring to achieve. So yeah. All right. So I hope we answered
Yeah,
Teddy's
we
question.
really dug into that question there, and
Yeah.
so
I think he may not be listening to us anymore because it took us so long, but hope it's
it's
going to be
okay. We
helpful.
have the VOD on YouTube. We can always just
That's
send it
right.
straight to him. Why not?
How about this question? Follow up question from Summer.
Let's see. If you were a senior dev taking on a junior backend dev under your wing, what would you hope that candidate looks like in today's job market? Good, decent communication is what I would be looking for. I mean, it's like this. You can easily tell what generation someone likes to kind of play into the most just based off of how they talk. And
Mm-hmm.
like I'm in Gen Z, but I really don't think that there's a reason I get along with older people. Let me just phrase it like that. And
Are you? What are you talking about here?
I'm not talking about you because you're not you're not an older person. Come on,
Thank
Ludo.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. Whew. Oh man. So but no, seriously, good communication can be brought over into a technical space
Mm-hmm.
immensely. And if they're already taking initiative to be good at communication, just based off accountability and not being afraid to reach out, then they're going to apply that into a technical sense. Because I know as a senior dev, you're probably not wanting your junior dev to break anything, right? And so having that accountability and communication is going to go a long way, because in the workplace, and we've all been in this situation, you don't know something, even though it's been told to you one or two times, you still don't get it. And then you're afraid to ask one more time. And then you end up maybe breaking something or not doing it or falling behind, and then things stack up. So I know that's kind of a corny
Yeah.
answer, right? For just
No, it's good,
communication,
and
but that's yeah.
I think that's the human aspect of the type of candidate that you would look for. The soft skills aspect. I was actually. I'm going to complement your response with the technical aspect of what I will be looking for in a candidate. Um, and I think what I will be looking for is at what point that candidate or that junior backend dev is seeking help, because I will want to be there for that person, but only if it's at a certain level of needs. To give you an example, right? So we're talking backhand. If the junior dev, and I'm going to test that person, on the first few days. Probably I will have test the person during the interview as well. But I want to understand if how much they understand SQL, right? And there's going to be a threshold for me to decide: do I still want to be supporting that junior developer in their growth, or is it actually, or that person doesn't meet the needs? So let's say if that person understands SQL but needs help to write a SQL statement, a basic one, right? That's going to be like, is that too early? Is that person really, like, they understand what a relationship database looks like? They may understand, one-to-one, one-to-one relationships, but if that person really needs help to write basic SQL statements, that's going to be a red flag. Um, I think similarly, if that person doesn't, let's say that person doesn't understand or doesn't know what Docker is, right? Red flag as well. Now, if that person doesn't really know how to optimize a SQL schema, or how to apply the right index, or how to monitor SQL, that'll be fine. I think that will be part of the growth that's going to happen on the job. Or if that person really knows Docker but is kind of not comfortable with any I'm gonna miss out on the name. Not hypervisor, but how do you deploy multiple Docker machines at once
Are you doing this test to me right now
no,
that you're
no, I'm
just
testing
distracted?
myself. Damn it. I'm
I
not
don't,
blaming
because
myself, but
I don't know.
Krista would probably know. Krista, save me here. It's how you actually orchestrate multiple virtual machines or clusters. Anyways, so if you don't know about that technology, and so I will fire myself here. No, actually, no, that's not what I'm saying. I would actually allow myself to actually grow and learn about it on the job. Uh, it's not hypervisor. Hypervisor is Docker. It's Oh my God. Kubernetes, thank you. I knew someone was going to save me. All right, if you know if you know Docker but you haven't really played with Kubernetes just yet, then that's fine. That's something I would expect a junior dev to learn. So yeah, that will be it. And I'm guessing some you're not necessarily a junior dev. Like at least you know Kubernetes when I barely do.
You would be the big winner on a game show.
Yeah, there you go. All right, we have more questions.
Let's see. I think we got one from Thomas here.
Yeah.
Yeah, hello. I am a recent graduate of Nucamp's coding bootcamp. Currently in the job hunt. I'm struggling to get my resume past the AI auditors.
Oh wow.
I have made a couple websites; they just aren't online. So I'm guessing that you're saying that to kind of seek a little bit more counsel from that. Honestly, I'm going to throw this one to you, Ludo. I'm curious on your initial thoughts on this comment.
Well, what I'm interested here and to learn more, maybe we can try to have that conversation on chat. Is how do you know that your resume doesn't go past the AI auditors? Like, what type of message do you get back? Like, do you have any hot data that tells you why actually you're not passing those tests? Because I have an assumption that I don't know that you ever know actually what where it breaks unless you maybe asked a question or someone has told you. Um,
Yeah, that's a great
and I
question.
would say as
I
well.
don't know.
So I guess an easy one. You've made a couple of websites that they're not online. Put them online. Like,
That's exactly what
like
I was thinking. That
I
was the
mean
first
that's
thing I was going to say.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact that you're highlighting that, Thomas, makes me think that you know you're supposed to do it. You're just waiting for someone to tell you do it. So I'm telling you, do it. Put it online. Um,
Easier said than done for a lot of people, though. And we're not ignorant to that because that will take a little bit of investing on your part because hosting is not always free.
mhm.
Domains can be, but for a little bit. But hosting isn't. Just yeah, put them online because it's going to be so much easier for you to just go straight to
That's right.
there. And then if you're curious about who is going on your website, you can actually follow that traffic a little
That's
bit
right.
more, and you can actually find some data within that.
Put a pop
Um,
up. Put a pop up with a name,
yeah,
email. Um, have them subscribe to your newsletter, whatever that may be,
yeah,
and you
like
can
what you
actually
see,
get work.
hire me.
Yeah. So, and the other thing I wanted to say is, so you're talking about struggling to get your resume past the AI auditors, which also leads me to think that you're doing the quick apply, right? And I think we just talked about it, but just don't. If your strategy mainly is about sending your resume to as many AI reviewers as possible online on LinkedIn or any other, ZipRecruiter or you name it, right? All those websites, it's gonna be like I'll say you're not gonna pass the AI readers 99% of the time. Let's just put it out there. You want to look local. You want to meet with people, meetups. You want to go to the job fairs. You want to reach out directly to the company that maybe lives 2 blocks away or 10 miles away. You want to reach out to their CIO, CEO, depending on the size. You want to pitch them one to one. So you're never actually going to be in front of an AI auditor anymore, pretty much. That's the goal. The goal is talk to real people, have them appreciate you not just for the websites that are not online just yet, but also for who you are as an individual. Dean, I mean, if we rewind this stream and look for Dean talking about his experience attending a meetup, and just showing up and being himself and getting 3 job offers right after that.
That's crazy. That was
uh,
insane. But
so
yeah, and also real quick, like when you are thinking about that, think about how many hours you've spent applying to a place, and think about all of those hours that you could have spent possibly just meeting with people. Think of those as like premium leads, almost premium, like just high reward type people because already you're accomplishing one of the hardest parts in the job hunt by shaking a hand. And you're kind of already having your first interview. You're kind of getting past that point for the
Yeah.
HR person who calls you. I mean, if you are already talking to a plug and then you get a referral and then the ball's rolling from that point. So that's a different mindset to have on like hours spent versus what's gained. The ROI, the return on investment mindset that you can have versus virtual and in person. So maybe while you are virtual, pair that time that you would have spent applying to places, just RSVPing for different meetups. I saw your
Um,
little kitty back
I
there.
know. I saw something dropped on the floor, and boop, what is it? It's here. I wanted to say something. Oh yeah, the toll of being rejected online is something as well that's tough. Um, you keep applying, you keep receiving those rejection emails, often automated. It's a toll. It takes a toll emotionally, and you really want to avoid that. You want to preserve yourself from that. When you're meeting people one on one, most of the time you feel good. Most of the time the people are friendly. Most of the time they give you their attention. You have a conversation. It may not be a yes, but very rarely is it a total rejection, right? More likely it's going to be, hey, let me see what I can do. Let me introduce you to someone else, and it's easier emotionally, and it always makes you feel like you're getting somewhere, right? It's not, sorry, the font you used wasn't really the one that our AI detector could use, kind of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, people are cold online. If you're,
Yeah.
if
Oh yeah.
they're mean. People are mean online. Except us, we're nice. We'll be nice to you. But yeah, like in person, let's say they're really not interested in you as a candidate. They're gonna say, well, maybe you should start here. Maybe you should maybe add this to your resume, and then you can look at it. Aha! Now that seems like not a good thing. Now you have leverage. And what I mean by that is the next time you go to that meeting, if you crush it, you make an application, you do something over the top, you now used your past no experience into, wow, this person grew so much within this period of time. Let's talk,
That's
so
right.
just another thing.
And Thomas had a follow-up question. I think we're going to go, I'm going to answer that one quickly because there's more. Is pursuing more framework the way to go? No, you don't need to pursue more frameworks. I'm assuming you've learned a top framework. Pursuing more will be not a good use of your time. I think it's always, I mean, at the end of the day, learning is great, but knowing that you want to get a job and you want to prioritize your time and energy, I'll say that's not the way to go. All right. So we have a question from Fate Dravery. As a
All
student
right.
of Nucamp full stack program seeking a front end role, would you recommend utilizing React for all portfolio projects so as to demonstrate proficiency, or is vanilla JavaScript okay? What do you think?
I don't think there's wrong with like anything wrong with the mix, but vanilla JavaScript can do so much more, right? In the sense of React is going to be mainly for front end side of things, but
Mhm.
JavaScript, you can carry that over to more different types of projects. So there's nothing wrong with saying a little bit of both. But if you're let's kind of back up to the beginning of this. You're a student here seeking a front end role, right? If that's your intention, that's what you click with, then you should probably relish within that a bit more itself. Vanilla JavaScript's great, but odds are you're going to get that role through some through React of some sort, right?
And I
Um,
will ask you the question: what are you accomplishing by showcasing vanilla JavaScript projects? Um, it's I would say it's only interesting if you're going pretty deep and far using vanilla JavaScript. Like pretty much you're creating your own framework, right? You love React, but actually I'm going to create my own. And you go really deep in vanilla JavaScript to show proficiency. But if it's using JavaScript just like you will have used jQuery before, and doing a few, fancy stuff on the web page that doesn't do accomplish much, I think it's actually probably going to have the opposite effect. Like it's going to be a little bit too junior. However, if you actually use React and you go pretty far in React, um, that for me will have a better impact. But again, I think you want to show. I talked about complexity before, but that's where you want to show complexity, right? Um, and I think you're talking about seeking a front end role. It's quite difficult, I find, to demonstrate your skills as a front end developer without actually using a back end. I'll explain why. Um, we're teaching our students how to manipulate arrays, right, and data in arrays, and you're going to do that all the time. And in our curriculum, we give students at the very beginning, because they haven't learned to use databases just yet, they have a JSON file, and that's going to be like quote unquote local database of data. And that JSON file is loaded into an array, and then they're manipulating the array. If you're doing that as a full stack graduate to showcase your front end portfolio, and you still have that JSON file, and you're still manipulating the arrays like that, it's not great. You actually want to make sure that you're going to touch, maybe you're going to Firestore or, an actual backend, maybe not yours, but you're actually using and building your front end using an actual backend, because it's going to really show your skills as a front end developer that now knows how to fetch data from an actual backend, not just dummy data from a local JSON file, for example. So I would actually really go for a React portfolio. And even though you're pitching yourself as front end, I would make sure that your React projects actually have a real backend, unless it's a mobile app. Then you just want to show a mobile app. That's fine. And that would be React Native in that case. And I will, unless the vanilla JavaScript is mind blowing, I will not use that.
Yeah, and I got to give credit where credit is due here. You said you're a student of full stack seeking front end. I love that you went with full stack with the intention of wanting to do front end later. Because a lot of the times when I tell people and talk to people, oh, I just want to do front end. I just want to do front end. They just completely disregard full stack. I'm like, listen, it's not much. It's only 5 weeks more, but it's a game changer for you. You should really have that in mind, because you're essentially just adding more weapons to your arsenal at that point. So I just wanted to give you some credit for that. Good on you for seeing through that too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, let's continue. We have Byler. I keep getting those texts.
You're good. Take a look at them and I'll read out the question.
No, I don't want to, but I don't know if it's something like, I don't know if I should read it or not. No, that's okay.
Do you think it is easier to break into a position in the startup arena through incubator platforms than more established companies? It may be a bit less pay, but gain more experience. That I don't really know how to answer that, Ludo, because I feel like you have a lot of experience in seeing both sides of this for junior devs. I actually don't.
I think you're right. Actually, I think the answer is for me is yes. It's easier to break into a position in the startup arena through incubator platforms than more established companies. Well, actually, yes, with a caveat. The yes part is if you are your own entrepreneur, if you're funding something, and you have the tech skills, it's actually quite easy to put the CEO title in front of your name on LinkedIn and say that you built something, which is true. And that's going to be your first position, and you're going to break into the startup because you just funded a company. So that's the easy part. Now, that doesn't mean it's real just yet. You don't necessarily have customers. You don't necessarily have revenue. And I would say if actually your idea as an entrepreneur and your website or project gets traction, it's like you've made it. It's your first position in the tech industry. which is harder than just putting the title in LinkedIn, obviously, and then getting funding from incubator platforms. So here's the thing. Um, it's not necessarily easy to get accepted by an incubator, right? And so that's the harder part. And I would think that being accepted by an incubator platform as, let's say, a coding bootcamp graduate may be as hard as finding a job in tech. I don't really know the odds, but my gut tells me it's challenging. You may not have the funding. Now it depends also on the type of incubator platforms. If you're thinking Y Combinator, uh, it's going to be hard. If you're thinking, maybe a local incubator that's offer you a place, like it's a WeWork plus plus. It's WeWork, and you're going to have $5,000 of credit on your rent, right? Well, that's an incubator still. You may actually have a greater chance to make it there. Um, and then for the less pay but more experience, that one is tricky as well. It's definitely less pay, and I don't know that you're going to get different type of experience. If you're building your own company, if you're joining a startup, you're going to have the experience of being scrappy, obsessing about the customer, having immediate feedback on whatever you do from the customer. Is it working? Is it not? Pivoting, etc. If that startup, if it's yours, or if it's a startup that's small, you may not have a senior developer to help you. So you may actually not become better necessarily as fast because you may be missing the coaching of a senior dev. Right? If you're joining a more established company, as a junior person, quite often you're going to be part of a team. You're going to learn what it means to be a developer, a junior dev in a team that has rigorous processes and CI/CD and quality insurance and all of that, which you may not learn in a startup. So it's a long answer. It's not a cut yes or no, but I think it depends on age. I think if you're in your 20s or 30s, I would say try the incubator path. It's the most accelerating, probably. It's maybe when you can afford it the most in terms of um, life life situation. Do you have kids? Are you married? Do you have responsibilities and things like that? Um, so yeah, what do you think?
Well, I mean, this is such a compelling question to me. I think it's such a case by case basis, and it's kind of like walking into let's say like a doctor's office and saying, "Doc, I don't feel good. Why?" It's like, well, tell me how you're feeling. Give me more. I just don't feel good. Tell me why. That's kind of the what I'm getting here is which one do I think is easier. There's a lot of context behind answering that question specifically for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of why Ludo, who's way more experienced than me, is a little torn between saying yes and no between certain things, is because uh, the, it is a case by case basis. And so part of me doesn't almost want to give you an answer from my perspective because I lack a lot of that experience on both sides. I have more of an entrepreneurial mindset when I was going through tech, where I just made websites for free for people,
Mm-hmm.
and then I helped track their business and data from there. And then if they wanted to keep it going, then we'd run it for a higher rate. So that's what I did. I didn't really go more of a established company type route, and I didn't really feel the need to at that time. So that's kind of where I'm like, well, I started on more of a startup type of side. I haven't played more into the established side through working specifically with tech. And so if I gave you an answer on it, I don't know how organic it would be. But I just know what worked for me. And that was extremely easy. It was so easy to go into a place and just provide value instantly, especially for people who weren't expecting it, and then grow immensely from there. So um, it's easy for me to say which one's
Yeah.
easier for me. But yeah, hopefully that's kind of a long-winded answer for me saying like, I'm not sure.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and there's a follow up here, and then we'll go back to Amanda's question. But yeah, was thinking about positions that Y Combinator lists on their website. I mean, go for it. Definitely go for it. That's super exciting when you get there. Um, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Definitely. That seems great. I want to talk about that question from Amanda Carter, who's looking forward to seeing you on the 16th, Amanda. The question are, how do we differ from other bootcamps such as Triple Ten? So I happen to have followed Triple Ten a little bit. So I don't know if it's picked randomly or not. It's interesting. Um, so I think we're both flexible, and I think Triple Ten is also in that on the more affordable side. I think we're even more affordable than then. What I find, what caught my eye, I would say, with Triple Ten is how aggressive they've been recently in marketing.
Yeah.
Um, and that's, I don't know. I've wondered. I know they didn't, they weren't called Triple Ten like a year and a half or 2 years ago. They used to be a subsidiary of a Russian company named Yandex, um, and they rebranded. And I think they probably got a ton of capital as they rebranded because they've been all over the place in terms of advertisement marketing. Um, and they also have a peculiar way of marketing. I've seen, I mean, if anyone is monitoring the coding bootcamp subreddit, the moderator had to ban, I don't know how many accounts there because they were inundated with um, posts, promoting Triple Ten and offering discounts and all that kind of stuff. And one of the moderator mentioned that he kept, banning those folks. So I can't really judge the quality or all of that. I'm only able to judge what I'm seeing on the surface, and it makes me question things. I would say, and I'll leave it at that. I mean, I'm glad you're joining us, um, and yeah, you're starting with the web development fundamentals. So it's, that's what we tell our students. This is a 4-week program for $500, which is a great way of helping you answer that question as well. Like, do you like what we have to offer in 4 weeks? It's kind of no risk involved. If you like it, then please continue with us. We love it. If you feel like we didn't do a great job or it doesn't work for you, then by all means, check out Triple Ten or any other competitor, and hopefully you'll find what fits you.
Yeah, as a consumer, like it's kind of comforting to know that you can transfer those skills, right? Like
Yeah.
HTML, CSS,
That's
Bootstrap,
right.
that's not really going to change anywhere you go. I mean, maybe how you learn it, but that's in the grand scheme of things, the easiest things that you're going to learn compared to what's down the line. And so I think that's amazing that you're starting there. I don't just piggybacking off of Triple Ten. I don't really know much about them either. I did know about the rebranding that they went through, and they have been super aggressive on their marketing with
Oh
TikTok
boy.
ads and
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've looked through their website for their curriculum. It doesn't seem to veer off too much differently than what's needed within the market. They have a wide selection of things, which when you're doing that and things are fresh in the tech sphere, I would say this with us and anywhere else you go, like if something's super fresh, proceed with caution because it's fresh and you don't know if it's for a trend or you don't know if it's for like what's really needed in the market, right? So
Mhm.
it's very important to see through the documentation of the curriculum and the syllabus and what's needed in your area too. I think starting with web development fundamentals, if you're starting from scratch, you are on the perfect way to figure out a lot of answers like Ludo mentioned. Anyway, I just
And
thought I'd throw
I'm
my
just
two
reading
cents.
Amanda's follow up. Yes, I was looking at them. They're quite aggressive when it comes to promoting themselves. Yes, they are. Yeah, it doesn't mean. I mean, I
Not a bad
can't
thing.
comment on the quality of the education over there. I just don't know. I just, yeah,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
a external point of view, it's, anyways. All right. So, Krista, thank you so much for animating the chat. Um, it's been great. Let's see. So we have a follow up here. And by the way, as we follow up on those questions, feel free to ask your own question on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn. You have a chat window somewhere there. Ask your questions. We're live, unless you're watching us at 2 a.m. in the morning, then we're not live. It is right now 2:45 p.m. Pacific time, December 6th. So if that's exactly the time you have, ask your questions. We are live. All right, my core project is Django, Postgres, perfect. Love it. Budget tracking application, great. Responsive graph production, love it. Niche but horrible, yes, yes, niche. And niche is best. Let me tell you, go deep on one obscure area and talk about it for hours. That's what people want. Like, go very obscure, like, but share how much you've learned and how much you understand that area, how much research you've done. Um, I think it's Elon Musk that shared one day that um, part of his interview approach is to ask someone to describe the project he's most passionate and proud of, and the intent is to see how deep that person went in understanding the subject matter, right? How expert that person actually is. And so you don't want to stay surface level, right? You absolutely don't. You want to go deep, niche, as obscure as possible. If the person that interviews you ends the conversation thinking, I've learned so much about whatever, you've really have earned a lot of points right
Yeah,
there.
you're already creating value for that
That's
person.
right.
It's funny that you mentioned that, though. Didn't I mention that too earlier? Like, talk about your personal
Yes.
passionate projects, and it's going to
Yeah.
ooze through. I didn't even know Elon Musk did that.
Yeah.
So you heard it here first, folks. Me and Elon Musk are pretty much the same person. So
I think you used Steve Jobs as an example, didn't you?
I did use Steve earlier. I
That's
used
right.
Mr. Jobs. Yep, I didn't know about Elon's
Yeah.
interview process. It's interesting.
Um,
Imagine, imagine interviewing with Elon Musk. How crazy would that
oh,
be?
I don't want.
Like,
Yeah. I don't
he's
know.
such a wacky guy. I love him.
I think you want to take a week vacation right after.
Yeah.
Did you see that he had someone in the SNL cast cry? Did you
I
see
mean, I
that?
believe it. No, I didn't, but I totally
He
believe
was
that.
he was telling the SNL cast, who's also a writer, that the joke wasn't funny and being very rude about it, and the cast cried.
Wow.
Yeah, he's
I
a
don't know if
genius,
he.
but not necessarily a great human being. I think people will agree on that.
Well, I wonder if that was like him wanting to be rude, or like if he didn't know he was being rude, right? Like maybe he
Huh.
was just being super straightforward, and what was perceived was hurt might have for him been criticism. Yeah, and just delivered really like not that great. Um,
Well,
he just never. Well, anyway.
okay, here's my take on it, and we're digressing, but that's a good one. Uh, I'm finishing up Succession with my wife. We are a little bit late watching that series.
Didn't I tell
Uh,
you to watch it?
yes, I think
Yeah,
you did. Um, and you see how those execs are talking to one another, right?
yeah.
It's super direct, rude, and there's a truth to that. Like, at some level, you don't want to. You want to be as efficient as possible. And I'm pretty sure the way you know uh, Musk or any top exec talks with their directs can be super dry and aggressive and to the point. And so in a way that's kind of fine because hey, they're making multi-millions and they're kind of expecting, yeah, we're going to go straight. We're going to tell you exactly what I think, and maybe there's going to be a few expletives there. And in a sense, for me, they kind of signed up for that, right? Um, but you're not supposed to use the same approach with an SNL cast member,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
have to dial it back. You have to have the emotional intelligence to have different types of tone and conversations with different individuals. And I think he may have been in the position of thinking that that person worked for him. She was supposed to write a sketch for him. That person, in his mind, I guess, worked for him, and he kind of handled it like that,
Maybe
and that was
so.
bad.
It's yeah, maybe so. You might be right. Well, regardless, now that I know you're towards the end of Succession, you need
Yeah,
to let me know as soon as you finish it. I mean,
probably this
it's
weekend. Probably this
probably
weekend.
this
Yeah,
you will
yeah.
not guess until maybe the last 5 minutes of
Oh,
the show. It's great. I love
I'm
it.
so angry with those folks. So this is the thing I've realized with the not the cast, but uh, the personage. The how do you say that? the people. I mean the individuals in the show, right?
Yeah, yeah, the characters. Yeah,
Yeah, the characters. There we go. I kept having the French word come to mind. The character. None of them are really likable, and yet you like
yeah,
them. But
yeah,
none of them. Like I keep rooting for I keep rooting for Kendall. Like it's gonna be able to turn it around,
yeah.
and you think he's getting there, and then it's so disappointing.
And
It's
then
like,
he
oh
does. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
so close,
Yeah,
so close.
they do this interesting thing where um, maybe a certain character will take one step forward, two steps back,
Yes,
four steps forward, and
yeah.
then maybe like three, and then two steps back, and then back and forth,
Ah,
and
this is so
it's
hard,
incredible. Yeah.
so hard.
Well, I mean, this is where we turned the last 10 minutes of the show into a movie podcast. So,
I mean,
but
yeah, okay. All right, let's continue. Chris has
yeah,
a good
yeah,
point
so,
on Triple Ten. Triple Ten does not have a weekly workshop like Nucamp. So that's something we can talk about. We group our students in classrooms of now it's more 20 than 15. It used to be 15, but it's more 20 now. And they meet live Saturday or Sunday for 4 hours. And it's super important to us. We want the human touch. We want the connection. We don't want lectures. We don't want you to be one of 100 students listening to the instructor giving lecture. It's actually a hands-on workshop, and that's kind of the secret sauce I will say of Nucamp. So thank you.
yeah, those are vital time for
Yeah.
learning. I mean, geez, Louise.
Oh,
Uh,
love it. Django and HTMX patterns. You're great. You're spot on. I think you really okay. Had a lot of fun. People had tons of questions. Oh, let's stay in touch. I'm hopeful for you.
yeah,
Really
same
hopeful.
here. I've seen you in the chat quite a few times over these weeks and months. So definitely keep coming through. I mean, you and Krista are like anchors sometimes coming through here
Yeah.
and what y'all have to say, and it sparks a lot of conversation. So if there's anything me and Ludo can say right now, we're thankful for your presence in this chat. It helps streamline this time for us. I mean, um, it's an hour well, usually an hour, but an hour and a half today,
Yeah.
right? And it's already just flown by. I mean, look at us. We've been
Exactly. It
live
still went
for
very fast.
yeah, hour and 20 minutes or something like that. And so, yeah. And, once again, guys, if you are one of these ghost watchers who are just present, but not in the chat, not letting yourselves be known, just know that the beginning of next year, we have a lot rolling out for promotion. 2025, I think, is going to be just an explosive year for tech. And we're finally getting over that crucial time frame of that COVID era. And I just really think that we're going to forget about a lot of that stuff
Oh
going
yeah.
into 2025. And so, yeah, I just think now's more of an organic, good time to get into tech than it has been in a really, really long time. But the approach is different. And that's kind of if you haven't taken that in by now throughout this whole entire live stream, rewind it, watch it again. Like, it's organic approach
Yeah.
now.
I know some students have been frustrated because they wanted to get a loan to attend. And over the past 2 years, it's been harder and harder to get loans because of the interest rates that went up and how actually that really had an impact on who was accepted. Now, granted, all loans, if you go for, I don't know, full stack, that's going to cost you $500. So it's not like, you're gonna pay the balance, and the total cost is going to be like, I think, 500 to 800 more dollars than the 26 that you will pay otherwise. But I know students really wanted to finance that through one of the loans that we have, loan provider, Climb Credit or Ascent, and got denied, and mainly because of the cost of capital. And so hopefully that's going to ease as well in 2025. Interest rates are going down, and I'm hoping it's going to have a trickling effect on people being accepted. To student loans. So
Yeah, and let's say worst case scenario, let's say you did get denied and you still want to go through it, and we have the New You scholarship as
yeah,
well.
that's right.
So if you have been declined, I mean, we want to help you out anyway. We have
That's right. I
specific
forget
programs.
about yeah.
Yeah.
If you have a student provider that declined you, we're gonna knock off 1 month of payment through the scholarship. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Unless it's the web development fundamentals, and then
That's right.
it's
Yeah.
$50. Yeah. So.
Um, good question. What do you think the big change from 2024 to 2025 is?
It's what's in the zeitgeist, man. I'm telling you. I know it sounds really
Okay,
like
let's go.
tinfoil
Let's actually take a
hat.
tangent again. Have you have you followed the Hacktua meme coin
Oh,
from yesterday?
yeah. I know what you're talking about, man. Yes. Yeah.
So you know the craze, the meme coins craze of like 2 years ago, where everybody was putting the rug under everybody,
Oh, yeah.
and
Rug pulling
Copy
everything left
Zealand
and
doing a
right.
great job actually catching those guys. I am personally invested in Ethereum, and
Okay.
I'm a believer in a blockchain technology that creates value. And I mean, the smart contracts that you can actually establish using Ethereum or Solana. Um, and so I'm a long hold on Ethereum. It's doing better right now, but I'm hoping that 25 is going to be the Web 2.0 of blockchain, where all the silliness and all the excess that we saw before is going to go away. And we're going to see real world application of using the blockchain. Just like, we had that crash in the 2000 era,
Yeah.
the internet
Yeah. The
1.0
dot-com
crashed.
bubble and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it really became real, super real. I'm hoping 2025 is going to be that. And it's going to be that. I'm going to say I don't believe in Bitcoin, but that's just silly because, it's over 100K now. And who am I to
Yeah.
say
It just
anything
happened,
about that?
what, yesterday or the day
It's,
before, I
yeah,
think.
it's
Yeah.
just crazy. But Bitcoin is a store of value, and that's all it is. And it's not gonna do what I think Ethereum or smart contract blockchain could do.
What?
My I'll
Go
just
ahead.
finish on that.
Yeah.
My hope is that we're gonna see something being done with all major credit cards companies. There's already a lot of chatter, excessing fees, monopoly. They're kind of, they're preventing any new players to enter those transaction market, the money transaction market.
Hmm.
Ethereum, from a technology standpoint, is getting ready to offer the same level of transaction capability than those Visa, MasterCard players. I'm hoping that in 2025, 2026, we're going to see actually a serious on-chain money transaction payment company competing directly with Visa and MasterCard. And if you ask me, it's going to be Stripe. They're
Wow.
already making moves in
Okay.
the blockchain space, and that will be so smart for them because when Stripe charges you or charges us 3%, 2.8 is going to Visa and MasterCard. So they have a huge incentive to actually replace those guys.
Hmm.
And that will be a huge win for consumers in general. So
Yeah.
that's my, yeah.
That's a great one. I've been an investor in crypto since 2016. So
Nice.
I
Up or down?
what's that?
Up or down?
Oh, I mean, uh, up. Like, I
Up.
mean,
Okay. So you didn't get rug pulled.
oh, no. Because
Oh,
here's
yeah.
the thing about that: memes and meme coins, those didn't really take off until after Doge did,
Yeah.
and
Correct.
when Elon did kind of do a lot with that, that's what kind of sparked a whole wave. So that's another thing that you can say about 2020 and that time frame and Elon, that he was the best and worst thing, I guess, to happen to crypto. It really took a step back on how serious crypto was being
Mhm.
perceived, because of how much money people were losing left and right to scams. Anyway, I digress. Bitcoin, what you were mentioning, if that's like the digital gold, and it's like maybe not much use, even though it's the digital gold, though we had real gold at one point and we
Yeah.
would do trades with it. I mean, we don't really do that anymore, right? So when you take that type of currency and then you kind of manipulate it and see the evolution of what's going to happen, I couldn't agree with you more on what's going to happen for that too. And so I think like what we've seen XRP shoot up over the past week. We've seen, I mean, like Ripple and Stellar Lumens, the ones that move super fast, extremely low gas fees as well.
Yeah.
I think there's a reason that it shot up really, really big like that. So yeah, I was going to say more into with this question here, more into like existential or maybe more of like a philosophical perspective, mixing that in with tech. But then you said blockchain and crypto. I was like, yeah, I mean, honestly, that we've already seen that trend
Mhm.
moving in just this month alone. It's been 6 days into it. So it's, yeah. Anyway, if you can't tell, I'm also very passionate about this subject. And
Krista, this is funny. Yeah, I got
you
three,
caught me.
three job offers. Didn't even need to take any of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm good.
my bonk coin and hedge coin and everything have just gone through the roof, and now I'm just chilling. Right.
Cool. I hope it's true. Hey, wow. See, 1 hour and a half. That was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
we're there. We're
Um,
there, man.
folks, if you still have questions, shoot us a note. Talk to Stephanie online. See
There you go.
how good she is. She's our AI customer service. Just so you know. Or you may actually have received an email from Dean already, or Alea. And if you are a student already, have a chat. There you go. Schedule a call. Oh yeah, that's cool. Let me actually,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh,
That's
that's pretty cool.
yeah,
Nice.
I got my Calendly up there. So if
Oh,
anybody
nice.
wants
That's
to
good.
chat
Yeah.
about some more incentives and some other things,
Yeah.
boom, right there.
So follow up. And Dean, thank you. It was great to have a chat with you as well.
Man, it was great.
Wish you a great weekend, everyone. Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Bye.